10 p.m. June 13th, 2019. This is a little difficult for me to explain, but I think I'm onto something. That is, I think I have just come up with a better way to put together your dope chart, your range card for your rifle. And that is, ordinarily, this is what we would do. We would have them like meters here, 75, 100, 125, 150, and so on and so forth. And here we would have the mil dots, 0.5, 1.5, 25, 2, etc., etc. In this way, in order to put together the chart, the dope chart, the range card, we would have to, derive or extract the data from our ballistic app or ballistic software, and then go to, for example, go to 175, look at the mil dots of holdover, and round it up to something here, like for example 4.25 or 5.5 as we have in here. So we would have to round up. For example, here we might have had 3.1, and I have rounded it up to 3 here. For the sake of practicality, of course, that would be necessary. Now, I thought of another way of doing this, and that is not having the meters here on the first row and the mil dots of holdover on the second rows, but rather having the mil dots of holdover on the first row and the corresponding meters on the other row. That is, instead of looking in the data derived from ballistics app, instead of looking at the meters and trying to put the holdover numbers here, I actually looked at the holdover numbers and came up with the corresponding meter to include or to write down in the following rows. And by doing so, one level of approximation or rounding up is eliminated from the entire process. That is, when I look up at, for example, 0.75 mil dots of holdover, the corresponding meter is 87, and that's that. I mean, there is no rounding up in doing this, whereas in the previous method of looking up at, for example, 150 meters, I would then have to round up whatever I had. It could probably have been 3.1 or 2.9, and I would have to round it up to a 3. So there is one level of approximation included in here, whereas in this other method, when I have 3.25 mil dots of holdover, because my scope is a half mil dot scope, so I could actually pretty precisely have 3.25 mil dots of holdover. I would just have to aim right in between a mil dot and a dash indicating a half mil dot. So when I, for example, I'm writing the data of 2.5 mil dots of holdover, that is 137 meters, and that's that, no approximation here. So by doing so, I believe I am eliminating one level of approximation from putting together, compiling this ballistic chart. I think that could contribute to having more precise shots It was difficult for me to explain. I hope you understand what I mean. You really have to have done this before to be able to get what I say here. But I think it's a novel way of doing it. I have not seen anybody else do this. What people usually do is they have the meters or yards or whatever it is on this row, and then in these boxes they have the mil dots of holdover, and they are bound to have had some form of rounding up or approximation in compiling their chart, whereas by doing this, having the mil dots of holdover on the first row and the actual meters on the second row, one could eliminate one level of approximation from their data. I think I have come up with something new that nobody has done. Thank you for watching.